Hello, stamping friends. Brenda Hillard here at Create with Brenda. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I am located in north central Minnesota. So, welcome to my little demonstration video today using the Sending Smiles bundle. This bundle can be found on page 14 in the annual catalog. And like I said, it's on page 14. It's a beautiful set, lots of sentiments, and some really great dies. So let me show you what I have for us today. If you do need a catalog, the link will be below. And you just click on there, request your catalog, and I'm happy to send one out to you. So this is the card we're going to be doing today. And I just love the dual color there on the sending, and I'll show you how I did that. Again, we're using the Sending Smiles bundle. It's a 22 piece photopolymer stamp set, and then a 14 piece die set. All right. My color palette for today is Pear Pizzazz, Early Espresso, Crushed Curry, and Sweet Sorbet. And I was inspired. I love flower gardens, and I have some brown-eyed Susans that are in full bloom, and they're absolutely beautiful. So it was like, oh, I could use this set to mimic my brown-eyed Susans. So to do the sending, I used my Stamparatus, and as all I did to set this up is I took a piece of basic white cardstock. This measures 3 3/4 by 5. I put it right up in the corner up there, put a little magnet there on the top edge and the bottom edge. And then I'm just going to set my Pear Pizzazz stamp pad underneath. That just levels this acrylic plate, and it makes it so much easier to ink up your stamp. So I took my crushed curry and inked up the big word, the sending, and I'm going to flip that over onto my 3 3/4 by 5 piece. And I have one of these cool little, they look like air hockey pieces to me. Remember how you used to deflect the pucks with air hockey games? But this just gives a nice, even ink to stamps. I can see I'm a little bit light here, so I'm just going to ink up again, and that's the beauty of the Stamparatus. As long as you don't move your stamp or your paper, you can just keep re-inking just like that. You don't get the halos or any of that. It's an awesome tool. And I've done several videos using the Stamparatus and different techniques with it. So if you want to go through my videos and take a look. Now, I don't know why I moved it, but I did. And it's not going to matter because I had it just tight up in the corner. But is what I want to do now is I'm going to take the color Sweet Sorbet. And if you look at your stamp pads, you can see this end, the ink pad is kind of far away from the edge, but this one, it's close. So is what I'm going to do is just kind of turn this so that I can get a better angle at it. And I'm just going to ink the bottom half with the Sweet Sorbet, and this is one of the new in colors. So then, so that I don't have this distinct line, I'm just going to take a sponge dauber, and I'm going to go in and just kind of soften that edge by dotting off or dotting across that line. Then I'm going to bring it back in, set it down, and ink it up again. And that's, my friends, is how we get that two-tone look on the sending. Okay? So I'm going to set my Stamparatus off to the side, and I'm going to bring in my die cutting machine, because as part of this bundle, you get a really cool, I can't pick stuff up, my nails are in the way. But I'm going to bring in the Boss. This is the standard size cut and emboss machine. And I'm just going to lay this down and bring in, there's a real fine sending, and then there's like the outline, and I want to use the outline for this one. I'm just going to line that up just like that. I used this for a swap card this month. I hope a demonstrator swap. I hope my fellow demonstrators are loving their card I sent to them. All right, so we're just going to crank this through. And here is what we get. Let me get my little piece off my cutting plate. All right, let's move this out of the way. And this is the fun part. So I'm going to take my die and put it over back by my others so I don't lose it. That's a pretty big one to lose though. So what I want to do now is this piece that we cut out, I want to take my Stampin' Seal and just give some adhesive to the back, and we're going to add that to a piece of Early Espresso. And the Early Espresso is just a 5 1/4 by 4 inch mat for this piece. All right, so we just have the template there, or the blank, I should say. I'm going to bring in my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm going to be using the mini dimensionals along with the standard dimensionals. And I'm going to take the standards and I'm going to put those on the larger areas of the sending, which would be the bottom of the G, the bottom of the D, and the bottom of the S. Okay? And then I'm going to take the minis and just kind of fill in the spaces so that when we put it down inside this template, it holds it level. One right here at the top of the S. Okay? So lots of dimensionals. And like I said, this is probably I don't know if you really want to call it tedious, but this is the part that takes the most time when creating this card or making this card. So I'm going to take that off, the backings, using my Take Your Pick tool, the pokey end. And then I'm going to set the bottom right in here, just like that. So you get that raised piece, a little bit of the Early Espresso shadowing underneath. Isn't that pretty? All right. Now, in that stamp set, there's lots of little sentiments in there, but I chose to use a note of thanks. But for this particular one, I'm going to switch it up. Am I going to switch it up? Yes, I am. And I'm going to switch it over to birthday wishes, because I have a neighbor lady who has seriously the most beautiful flower gardens. And she had a birthday here about a week ago. And I want to give her one of these cards just because of the flowers. It reminds me of her. All right, I'm just going to stamp this down, and I'm using the Early Espresso ink. So we've got sending birthday wishes. And I think you can see that okay. Maybe not. I'll just zoom a bit. There we go. Now you can. And before I go any further, I want to bring in the Pear Pizzazz with the leaf stamp from this set. And I'm just going to stamp a green Pear Pizzazz leaf here and a leaf over here. And then I'll show you how I did this other. So on the envelope, because you know that I like to have matchy envelopes, I'm going to take the crushed curry and I'm going to take the flower petals and I'm just going to stamp those right down at the bottom corner here. And it's like that half flower. And I found if I stamp the flower petals first, and then add the flower center using the Early Espresso, I'm going to ink up the flower center. And again, this comes from that stamp set. It just made it easier for me to center the flower, or to get that centered in the petals. Okay, so there's that. And what I did is on a scrap piece of paper, I stamped 3 of these. And in the dies, there is this piece then that you can just line up the flower petals and cut them out. So I had done that, like I said, on a scrap piece, and I did that ahead of time. I didn't think you wanted to watch me die cut 3 of them. I also stamped one of the leaves on the scrap piece as well, and die cut that with the leaf die from that set. All right, so as what we're going to do now to assemble our card is I'm going to bring in the standard size dimensionals, and I'm going to add 1 dimensional to the back of each of these Brown-Eyed Susans. Okay. And our card base is just a standard card base, and the card is made in the landscape orientation. And as what I had done was in the bottom right corner, just like on the envelope, I had stamped a flower to bring it to the inside. So when I write my note, the inside is decorated as well. I had this scored, so it's 4 1/4 by 8 1/2. I'm sorry, 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. Fold it in half, and then take my bone folder and give it a good crease. So now I want to add some liquid glue to the back of my Early Espresso, and I'm just going to center that right here on my white card base. And there's lots of white on this card, but I really, really love the finished look of the card. So I'm going to add some liquid glue to the leaf that we had stamped and die cut. And I'm going to have that go off the bottom here just a little bit to add a little bit more dimension. I'm going to take the backings off from my Brown-Eyed Susans, and I'm just going to place those right along the bottom here to kind of set up my leaves. So there's that. And guys, I think that is going to be today's project. I hope you've been inspired to give it a try. This two-tone stamping on the sending using the Stamparatus is really, really fun. So give that a try. And until next time, bye for now.